What's up, everybody? And happy Saturday to wherever you all may be. And on today's episode here on the channel, we are going to talk about NXT and why it is the best weekly programming television show in wrestling, at least in my opinion. I know I'm not the only one that says it. I think it's better than Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, Collision, all the other weekly shows. But I also want to talk about why NXT is so good and, go a little bit back to where it began, how it started, all of the things that we have brought us and led us to where we are today. As you guys know, me and Mr. OTM, Too Sweet Kyle, were supposed to be going to the NXT Live show in Chicago. Well, things happened, and as you guys know, when we got into the car accident, and I just literally got a new car today. So that's good. Good news, positive news. But Kyle is there right now, representing for the Main Event Network, representing for the NXT Night Shift. And I hope him and whoever he brought with have a really good time, because that is, and it should be a really fun time. Speaking of Chicago and wrestling, the Elimination Chamber was announced this past week to go and will be at the United Center for the first time since 1994 in SummerSlam, and it will be the first time since 2005, 2000 and something like that. They said that it was at a live event. Yes, Eric, I talked about it on one of the TTW episodes, and I've done my best of trying not, because I do dwell a lot on things, and I do, and I do my best on here to try not, but I'm okay. Obviously, I'm still here, and the biggest thing I've learned in the last month, to be honest, is just to realize what could be, not the what ifs, because we could always do the what ifs, but it could always be worse. Things could always be happening. We could have not been here for the last month. I could be in a hospital, car can be replaced, and also I hate insurance companies. And also, I do want to say this. If you are a Uber driver or DoorDash driver, I know Lamar and Queen Batty are, make sure that you have a policy on your car insurance. I know. Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. Policy that is called Rider. It's a rideshare policy that you have to have on your insurance, so they cover you. Because I did not have that, and I was not covered. So, had to pay a higher deductible, but figured it out. Everything worked out in the end, and we got a new car sitting outside, and hopefully by next week, and by this time next week, we're back to working, and everything is back to normal for the most part, But, yeah, Eric, I appreciate you asking. But, the one thing is that I am upset that I was not able to go with Too Sweet Kyle to the NXT, because I was really looking forward to it, and sucks because we bought we bought the tickets 2 days before everything happened, and then I had to tell him that I couldn't go, and I felt really bad, but that's okay, because I'm gonna make it up to him somehow in some sort of way. We'll figure it out. But let's talk about some NXT right now. And if you guys don't remember, I'm gonna tell you now. NXT was a game show. It started off as a game show where the competitors, the superstars, the athletes, whoever and whatever you wanted to call them, they wanted, and they would do these games. They would do relay races. They would do dance competitions. They would do, I think I remember a hula hoop competition. I think they had a talent contest. I mean, it was the craziest things that we've ever seen that they had. It was Tuesdays on Sci-Fi, fun fact for y'all. Saturday, fun fact. I know you're not a wrestling fan, but there's a fun fact for you. I said there's a fun fact for you. One of the NXT started on Sci-Fi, but you're not a wrestling fan, so
No, I mean, I'm a Cena
fan. I know. Joe?
Does it have to do with
No, it does not have to do with John Cena.
Okay.
Exactly. That's what it's a fun fact for the wrestling fans. I still gotta find a fun fact to tell her today. But if you guys remember, that's how it started. We had people like Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson. We had Heath Slater. We had David Otunga. We had Wade Barrett. We had the original Nexus. And then, if you guys remember, also the first time they did it for the women, we had women and superstars and divas at the time they were called. such as Naomi, AJ Lee, Oksana. If you guys remember Oksana, we had what was her name? Was it just Maxine? I feel like it was just Maxine, but I don't remember. I don't know some of the names they had for these poor girls back in the day. Caitlyn, and yeah, it was not what honestly did not think that's what the next generation was going to be. Well, we saw how much it flipped and it changed in the year 20, was it 18, 17, 2014? 2014 is when it actually moved over to the WWE network, because if you also remember, it was on Sci-Fi, and then it went over to the USA network on Tuesday nights. That was like their Tuesday show. Based on, it was literally from 7 to 8. They did competitions. They think they had one or two matches, and then Michael Cole would make fun of everybody, and then the show would end. I remember the one time him and Josh Matthews went ape shit on the commentary team because they were mad about how the show was going, and this was not what they were being paid to do or to watch. But then, as I said, went to the WWE network, and then we started seeing superstars such as Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn's, Neville's, Big E's, Bo Dallas's. We saw freaking there are so many people. I there's a couple people that we can't even mention, but they were big to the beginning days of NXT. NXT Black and Gold was something different when it was the Aleister Blacks of the world, Selena Vega's, Andrade's. It was also good with Undisputed Era when it was on Hulu. Also, if you guys remember, Kyle and Jay Gold were just talking about that. And if you remember, it was on Hulu. And you had to have a Hulu subscription for what it was. And that's where it started to get really good. That 1 hour felt better than a 3 or 2 hour, I guess. Well, no, I guess at the time it was 3 hours. 3 hour Monday Night Raw. I remember looking forward to watching it. But the problem with me is I was always forget that it was on the Hulu and it wasn't on the DVR. So I would always forget to make sure that we watched it and that we turned it on because, I just forgot. But then it went on to the WWE Network. And luckily, that was a lot easier because the way the WWE Network worked in the beginning stages of the NXT days was great. And just in general for the WWE Network. The WWE Network should have never left, and that's another podcast for another day. But then we started seeing I think it started off still at 1 hour, and then it went to 2 hours eventually. And then we also saw them finally get that TV deal that led them and brought them to the USA Network, if I am not mistaken. Yeah, in 2019, they went to the USA Network. It was on Sci-Fi in the beginning, and then, yeah. So 2019, it went to the USA Network, and that is where we saw Triple H's Black and Gold. Even before that, because we saw, I feel like the best part and the best time for NXT was around the 2015, 2016. In the really beginning stages, NXT Brooklyn was one of the best. And when they did call it NXT TakeOver, because for some reason they just don't call it TakeOver anymore. But when they did call it TakeOver, the takeovers were better than half of the shows that were on for the actual pay-per-view. The first NXT show was TakeOver on May 2014, and the last TakeOver was TakeOver 36 on August 2021. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure we were watching it here on the channel. But takeovers, and around the time of 15 and 14, 15 and 16, especially the Brooklyn where we saw Sasha and Bayley, that is honestly still one of my favorite matches of all time for NXT, or even the Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, the NXT ladder match, the War Games matches that they've had. I mean, the stuff that NXT was doing back then was so good, and the superstars they had, as I said, such as Undisputed Era. They had the Viking Raiders coming up at that time, Ricochet, Riddle, They had people, Gunther, Walter at the time. I remember in 2019 that Survivor Series, and we watched it here on the channel. I think we did a recap of it or a review last year too. The team for NXT, for the women, for the tag team, for the champions, it would be, and it is, the people that are still there are all big time superstars. And the people that are not there are big time superstars elsewhere, such as Tony Storms. Keith Lee obviously has had his up and downs, but there are so many people. Adam Cole, obviously, we can't really do nothing about it. Can't control these injuries. Awful. But man, what WWE would look like different if the Adam Coles of the worlds were still there. And it just honestly, it started with NXT with that black and gold. It just, like I said, it was Tuesday night. Looking forward to watching that. It was on Wednesday nights at some point. Saturday nights, I always remember watching the takeovers, especially the ones in January, right before the Royal Rumble. The big one, obviously, in Chicago is the one that I obviously remember the most, with Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. I remember watching that, sitting in line on Sunday morning, in line at like 3 a.m., waiting to meet a couple players at a convention that I went to at the time. And it was one of those things that I was more excited to watch the NXT shows than I was to actually watch the Royal Rumble and the Raw and the SmackDowns. And ever since that time, yes, NXT has had their low points, like NXT 2.0, when they were going to try to be the MTV version. And even in the beginning of the new NXT, the new black and gold or yellow and black or whatever you wanted to call it at the time, because now we're black and gray or black and white. I don't know. I feel like they went through like 5-6 different transformations. But the one thing about NXT has always been that they've brought up superstars continuously, and people have went on to make names for themselves, such as the Kevin Owens, the Finn Balor's, the Demon Finn Balor's, Big E, Bo Dallas. Neville was obviously, there are also people that have been bigger in NXT that we have seen go from NXT to the main roster that haven't been very good and that haven't been treated right. And they get released and then end up going to AEW or different companies and end up making a name for themselves. And it's just one of those things. I kind of think about it in a way, kind of like a baseball team or a football team. They are establishing stars. They are trying to bring up the next crop and next generation of whatever team that they're on, because obviously WWE is, I guess it would be a team or, whatever. But that's the way I like to look at it, because that's exactly what it is. And the fact that they're just getting better and better as the years go on is insane, because honestly, I didn't think it could get any better than what we've had. And there's going to be obviously something special and different of the time of the Sashas, the Baileys, the Finns, the Kevin Owens, the Shinsuke, Sami Zayn, when Sami had short hair and didn't look like a caveman, I just think that all around, again, if you also look at the card for now on the main roster for SmackDown's, Raws, they're all from NXT. 75-80% of these rosters now are NXT superstars that were brought up around 2015 through 2018, 19. And even now, we've seen superstars like Julia and Stephanie and Braun. I guess not Braun, because Braun was in NXT for a little bit longer than I think he should have been. But we've seen certain superstars come up and actually go and make a name and win championships, even though Julia's championship run wasn't the greatest. It's just insane, the fact that they are able to continue to do this, and now they have the partnership with TNA, and they are able to get superstars to make it feel fresh and to make it feel like somebody like a Leon Slater that I don't think many people would know who he was if he wasn't just recently on NXT and if you didn't watch TNA, because again, not everybody can sit there and watch every piece of wrestling. And again, I watch a lot of wrestling, I truly do, but I do my best to try to not watch everything. Like TNA, I see the clips, I see the stuff like what BDE, Brandon Does Everything, is doing against AJ Francis and stuff like that, but I forget, and there's just so much other things to do and other things on TV, and putting up Christmas decorations. Yeah, but sometimes you just need to take a break from one wrestling show every once in a while. But NXT is one that I don't think that will hopefully ever become one of those that you can't rely on, because Kyle talks about it a lot on NXT Night Shift and the Main Event Network when we do these mixers. And NXT just continues with the consistency. Every week they're putting on a digestible show, 2 hours. The commercials are there. It is what it is. We're never going to get rid of them. But for me, a 2 hour NXT feels a lot more digestible than a 2 hour SmackDown, and not considering that it's going back to 3 hours in January. It's gonna be a long Friday nights again, and it's not. I'm not saying that they don't need it, but sometimes I just feel like they overdo it when they do have the time, but then when they don't have the time, it's like they rush it. They could just find that middle ground. It would be great. And NXT does that every week, every show, and not every show is perfect, and every show has its perks and its bads and its up and its downs. But for the most part, if you put on Raw, SmackDown, or NXT and AEW Dynamite, Collision, whatever show you're watching on a weekly basis, I bet you 7 or more than 5 out of 10 people will tell you. So I'll say 7 out of 10 people will tell you more likely that NXT is the more digestible and the one that they enjoy the most, especially with the superstars that they have and people that they continue to bring up. They go and they become on the main roster, as I said, and then it seems like somebody just comes out of nowhere and takes their place, and it's like as if they never left. Just like hopefully we don't see Trick Williams again after his match with Ricky Saints. But until we actually see him on the main roster, I don't want to get excited because, just one of those things. Don't get your hopes up about it. But, from the beginning days of the game show, from Black and Gold, from NXT 2.0, and even NXT 2.0, it wasn't the greatest, but we got guys like the Braun Breakers of the world. We got superstars like Sol Ruka or Nikita Lyons or Lola Vice, and we saw the War Game with Tony D and NXT Black and Gold against NXT 2.0. I think altogether, in a way, NXT and every part of it from, as I said when it began, has brought superstars that, if we didn't have it, obviously I don't think we would ever have gotten them. And as I said, it does definitely help that they have the partnership with TNA. They have all the ID things that they find. They have all these people that you truly never know if they're going to be there or not, because even the security guards you got to watch out for, because there's been a few times we're watching old stuff and we see that Trick Williams, the Braun Breakers, the Creed brothers are security guards. And here we are 5 years later, and now Braun Breakers going to be in War Games this year. And the Creed brothers are nowhere to be found, but maybe they're with El Grande Americano OG. I don't know. NXT, though, is the OG. It's the best. It goes on, and it's just one of those shows that I feel like no matter what happens, and even if it does change channels, I would give NXT an extra half hour before I'd give an extra hour to SmackDown. Because NXT could go out there and put stuff, and that's not putting hate on Triple H or anything, because I know people give Triple H the hate and everything else like that. But NXT, all around, puts on good shows. They put on good performances. They put on good storylines. They put on good pay-per-views. And as I said, not everything is going to be perfect, but for... Huh? A fractured bone? No. No. I don't know. They are. And the way they do it, and that's why, the injuries that some of these superstars have is awful. And the way that they are able to come back from it, is incredible. But then there are the injuries such as Sol Ruka. I don't understand why we took the title off of Sol Ruka if she was just going to fight Blake Monroe for the title again, because I don't think Sol Ruka is going to win the title. And we are going to talk about NXT Gold Rush here in a few minutes, because I do want to also talk about that, kind of doing a little preview show quickly as we're talking about NXT, just to give you our thoughts about the show, especially week 1. But that is the one thing I will say is, you never know what's going to happen. We've seen it with Seth Rollins. He's obviously now out. We saw Drew McIntyre join Logan Paul. It's just one of those things. Injuries happen, and it sucks. But as I was saying in the beginning of the show, and Eric was talking to me about with what I've been going on, I feel like everything happens, and, it's always better. Everything always seems to work out, and, it all happens for a reason. That's my biggest thing that I'm just taking out all of it. I do still watch Survivor. Yes, I do. Every week, every Wednesday. Yes, sir. Heck yeah, I love myself some Survivor. See, we got some reality TV fans here. But NXT, all around, amazing. As I said, from the beginning days to now, it's going to be here for hopefully ever. And if it's not Shawn Michaels, maybe it's one of Shawn Michaels' kids. Maybe it is somebody like a Seth Rollins possibly getting involved. That would be interesting to see Seth Rollins run NXT after all of these years, especially in being the first NXT champion, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, again, the champions that we've had, and the fact that we've had champions like a Shinsuke, a Karrion Kross, Aleister Black, and they've never held the World Heavyweight Championship, the World Heavyweight title, the WWE Championship. We've seen a couple of them have mid-card titles, but it's insane to watch how different the feeling you get when you see certain superstars in NXT than you do on the main roster. And that's just been my biggest con about all of it, is that if they just knew how to use not everybody, because again, everybody's not going to work out, just like in sports. Not every prospect is going to work out. But if they used everybody the correct way and didn't change anything to certain superstars, they probably have a way better of career. And we ain't talking about Karrion Kross not on WWE and not in WWE anymore if they wouldn't have brought him out in a mask on Raw against Jeff Hardy and then lose in 3 minutes. But guys, let me know, what is your favorite NXT? Who's your favorite NXT superstar? Are you excited about NXT Gold Rush? If you have a favorite NXT pay-per-view, let me know. Make sure if you have not yet, you go check out the NXT Night Shift over on the Main Event Network. Shout out to Jay Gold and Kyle for that. I think the show in Chicago starts in an hour, so I think Kyle is just hanging out in Chicago if anybody is there and wants to say what's up to Mr. Too Sweet Kyle. He'll be there. Let's see what we got in the comments. And then we'll go over Gold Rush. Yeah, so how do we feel about Matt Cardona coming out as Zack Ryder? He did say in an interview with Chris Van Vliet that Zack Ryder was dead. But with it being the John Cena tournament, that rivalry that they kind of had with Eve Torres and Kane, I think it was a good way to bring Zack Ryder and Matt Cardona back. It was good to see him after 5.5 years. Naomi was the only. Yes, Naomi was in the female season. We had Caitlyn, AJ Lee, Askana, right? I don't freaking know. There was a couple of them that we never saw. We never saw Jamie again, I think, right? Speaking of Bo, Uncle Howdy, I did see that and I forgot to mention it. Yeah, Uncle Howdy was in the background when Nick Aldis and Solo Sikoa were talking yesterday. And it seems as if we're getting a 5-on-5, a traditional elimination match on the SmackDown before Survivor Series. Maybe they'll make it Survivor Series SmackDown. Ha. WWE is literally screwed. Who knows what's going on? Andrade screwed Andrade. Let's be real here. No, WWE didn't do anything. Andrade screwed himself. For real. Starting to think Tatum and Izzy are never. They're going to break up. Izzy's taking the title off of Tatum. Who's the best Sox? Okay, so when you say this, do you mean who is the most friendly Sox player? Who is my favorite Sox player I've ever met? Let me know, Eric, and I will answer that for you. I think Izzy snaps at some point. Oh, she's going to, especially because Tatum is just giving title shots to everybody. Maybe she's the Iron Survivor. Tatum's beat her New Year's Eve. Maybe. Lash was predicted to win Iron Survivor. Yeah, it seems as if Lash is officially on the main roster. Oh, really? Yes, oh, really. We got Byron in the house. What's up, Byron? How we doing? Sammy went in the Rumble. Who remembers MJF being, MJF being set? That's what I'm saying. Samoa Joe. I forgot to even mention the Samoa Joes of the world. I mean, the superstars that they had in NXT were just insane. Sanity, freaking Pat McAfee when he had his goons. NXT was just so good, and it still is. Speaking of El Grande, who knows? I have no idea. I don't think that we've seen anything from Gable. The question is do we think Gable comes back as El Grande, or does he come back as Chad, or does he come back as both? Do you think Tatum's character wise can work on the main roster? I think it could. I just hope that they put her in the right situation. Weren't Priest and Knight security? Priest and Knight, also LA Knight, did his thing with Cameron Grimes. Take it to the moon and back, baby. Cameron Grimes, woo. I mean, LA Knight doing that stuff. I could just look up at my action figures for shits and giggles. I mean, the Candice LeRae's, I guess Jade Cargill never went there, did she? Cora Jade, even though Cora left. Kylie Ray. Even the women in NXT all the women on the roster are from NXT besides the Julia, Stephanie, Chelsea. Chelsea was in NXT, I think, for like one match. Do you remember a live NXT run it? Took her 2 years to get a win. Who? Oh, Liv's NXT run? I do not remember too much of Liv's NXT run. I remember her coming out with was it Enzo and Cass? Or no, was that Carmella? No, that was Carmella. And then Alexa came out with Buddy and Murphy? Or was that the same person? Was it? Oh, no, Blake and Murphy. That's what it was. Because she was at the time in a relationship with Blake. And then I know Liv Morgan, I forgot what she did in the beginning of her NXT days. My favorite NXT is Leon Slater. Right now, your favorite? Who is your favorite of all time? NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4 and my favorite NXT superstar, Sami Zayn and Finn Balor. I like it, Byron. I've met, out of all athletes, sports, anything, I've probably met like White Sox players the most. And to be honest, maybe Mark Burley. That might be the most recent one. And maybe biased, yes, because that is the most recent and the most fresh one in my brain. But there really hasn't been a White Sox player that I've met, because I meet a lot of them at Sox Fest, and it's okay, get in line, wait your turn, say a couple words, get your autograph, and then get out of line to get into another line to get another autograph and do it all over again. Which I don't mind. I enjoy it because collecting the stuff and getting the whatever I'm getting signed and then putting the name on it or whatever, however you want to place it. Or if you get like a ball, I would get like the cases that they would have. And for me, Mark Burley took the most time to talk and have a conversation. And for me, that's what it's all about. Yes, I like having the pictures. I love doing the vlogs. I like doing all this and that. But the moments and the memories of me meeting, such as Matt and Jeff or Mick Foley or Devon, those are going to be the things I'm going to remember, and those are the stories I'm always going to remember. Or Mick Foley taking a minute to sign his Sacco for me, or signing the picture when he didn't have to. And those are the things that when I meet these superstars or players that I love. But baseball, I know I went into a little rant there, but baseball, probably Mark Burley. Lola should visit SmackDown. Yeah, she should eventually. I think Lola is one that should be called up by the end of the year. And she is definitely going to be in the Rumble. NXT is the best because it's also take risk every now and then. I think that's the biggest thing too, is they're not afraid to do things. And they're not afraid to put certain people together like an Axiom and Nathan Frazier or other tag teams and have people. I mean, for a long time there, the tag division in NXT was great when they had the Undisputed Era. The Viking Raiders, they had Sanity, they had the Vaudevillains, they had freaking the Street Profits, they had, oh my gosh, they had, who won the Dusty Cup? Didn't Samoa Joe and Finn Balor win it, or Samoa Joe and, I forgot who else it was. I mean, there are so many great things and so many tag teams. And, I truly have been thinking about, possibly going back and starting to watch some of the old takeovers and the old NXT pay-per-views, because we really have not done that, especially like the first few where Xavier Woods had an afro and all that. Or when before Xavier Woods joined the New Day, and it was thank God for the New Day. My favorite feud is Tommaso Ciampa against Johnny Gargano. Big facts. That is for me too one of my favorite matches and one of my favorites. Another one for me, and again, this might just be biased because I was there, but the NXT War Games when Kevin Owens returned, we saw Dakota Kai turn on Tegan Knox. We saw her leave Rhea Ripley and Candice LeRae on their own, and Rhea Ripley and Candice LeRae still won that match. We saw Kevin Owens be the fourth member and the final member, or fourth member. I forgot how many people were in that one, if it was 4 or 5. He was the final member for Team Adam Cole, baby, to defeat them. I think just all around from the starting point and when Triple H said things about NXT, I feel like he followed through. And that is why I think for me, it bothers me so much that he does the shit that he does on the main roster because NXT was so good in the beginning. It continued to be good no matter what. Like when it was 1 hour, it was better than, as I said, a 2.5 hour SmackDown, a 3 hour Raw, a 2 hour SmackDown, a pay-per-view. The takeovers were so much better. It started to become where my friends would come over to watch Takeover. And then they were like, well, we don't want to watch the Rumble or we don't want to watch this pay-per-view or SummerSlam or whatever show is on that Sunday. They're like, we'll just come over for Takeover because that is a show we're actually looking forward to. And it was even funnier, too, around that time. Rocco started to watch NXT. Or actually, I lied because he didn't watch NXT. He started to watch it a little bit after it. And it was after we were supposed to go to a NXT show when they were here for Money in the Bank. They had an NXT show the night before. They had Money in the Bank. And my uncle got the tickets for NXT TakeOver. I think it was the one with Tomasa and Johnny in that street fight, the Chicago street fight. And my cousin didn't want to go. And we ended up not going. And it was one of those things. And he talks to me about it now. He's like, I can't believe we missed this show. I can't believe we weren't there. It's like, I told you, bro. I was like, I can't control it. And it wasn't my, Anyway. But NXT, number one for me. Better than Raw, SmackDown, AEW's, no matter what it is. I will always enjoy NXT. I could talk here and I could sit here for hours and just talk about the same thing and about how great this show is. But again, it's not all great. We do have the downs and the bads and things that do happen where, they have matches and they have superstars that definitely may not be ready. But then again, it is also, you guys also always have to remember, it is the developmental brand, no matter how much they want to say it's the third brand. And these superstars and these women and these athletes, these men are way better than what they were 5 years, and they're going to be better 5 years from now than they were today. And that's just how it is, and that's how it's going to revolve. It's how that is going to evolve. And as long as NXT is in a healthy spot, WWE will be in a healthy spot. And I've always talked about how I feel like there's going to be a time where I stop watching because I'm not going to like certain superstars. Well, NXT has done that now to make sure I never stop watching because they always have superstars that start coming up. And by the time I'm looking at it, I'm like, damn, we've had a WrestleMania and every match has had an NXT superstar. I mean, for me, I should stop watching after John Cena retires because John Cena, Randy Orton's are the last of my generation. And then it's a whole new generation. And there's people that you'll be like, who is this? And they'll be like you'll ask a kid and you'll be like, who's Umaga? And they won't know who that is. And it's just crazy, especially just recently having the 20-year anniversary of Eddie Guerrero. It's just crazy to, see how the legacies, the legends, and all of it lives on, no matter how old, young, and anything that you get. But, again, as I said, I could sit here and talk about NXT for hours. It's great. It's amazing. Keep watching it every Tuesday night. But before we do go, let's talk about NXT Gold Rush and let me go over the matches that will be going down, and that will be going down in the next 2 weeks. And obviously, matches can be announced in the next upcoming weeks. But as of right now, these are the matches that have been announced. And these are the matches that will be going down on night 1 this upcoming week. We got Blake Monroe taking on Sol Ruca for the NXT North American title. We have Dark State taking on Javon Evans and Leon Slater. We got Tatum Paxley taking on JC Jane for the NXT Women's Championship. And then we got the AAA tag team titles on the line, mixed tag team titles, that is, as it is Chelsea Green, the two-belt Chelsea, as she teams up with Ethan Page as they take on, say her name and say his name, and they appear. It's Thea Hale, it's Joe Hendry, and they want those tag team titles. And then we also have, I think I have a couple matches. Yeah, so week 2, we have Zarya taking on Fallon Henley for the Speed Championship. We have a triple threat match in week 2 for the TNA Championship. Is it Xia Li, now known as Xia Ying Li, taking on Kalani Jordan and Jordan Grace. We have that match on week 1, that match on week 1, and then that match on week 1. So as of now, those are the matches that have been announced. We will, as I said, give you our quick, and I'm going to give you my quick thoughts about these matches. And let's start off at week 2 just because we'll go backwards this time. We got Zarya and Fallon Henley as they will be going after each other for the Speed Championship. And the one way this is going to go is Zarya is going to win. Soul's going to get upset, and then we're going to see Zarya and Soul have a feud, and then they're going to go after each other. 3 minutes it will be, and at the end of the day, Fallon Henley is going to lose. Sorry, Fallon. I'm not saying you don't got a chance, but I'm saying it's a slim chance. Now the other match that we got for week 2 officially announced is Li Zing Li. I think I said that right. Xia Li, formerly known as, taking on Kalani Jordan and Jordan Grace in a triple threat match for the TNA Knockouts Championship. And who would have thought a year or two ago we'd have TNA championships being defended on an NXT WWE programming? Well, here we are. And this one should be a good one. I think that they should go out there for a good probably 15 minutes. And we'll probably have a commercial break in between. You know, I want to see Jordan Grace win. I wouldn't even mind seeing Xia Li win. But I feel like Kalani Jordan is going to keep her title. She's going to continue to be the women's championship in TNA. And we're going to see how long Miss Mello Don't Miss is a champion. And she runs that other brand. Now, let's talk about week 1. Because as of right now, those are the only 2 matches that I have for week 2. If there are any other matches that have been announced for week 2, please let me know in the comments. But now let's get to week 1. We have Blake Monroe taking on Miss Sol Ruca for the NXT North American Championship. And as much as I love Sol, I think that it would be stupid for her to get the title right back after she lost it. And what would have been the point of her losing it just to get it back again? But as I say that, how many times have we seen WWE do that bullshit where they are having a title and then we see them go and they put it right back on the other person a couple weeks later? But I'm still going to say Blake Monroe gets to win. Unless Zarya helps or something like that, Sol Ruca's losing. And that is going to start beef between Sol and Zarya. And then we're going to see how that goes. But Blake Monroe walking out still your North American title. North American champion. We got the mixed AAA tag team champions. It's Joe Hendry and Thea Hale taking on Chelsea Green and Ethan Page. Chelsea Green and Ethan Page having fun. You know, they work so well together. They are, and you know, we've talked about people being added to the Secret Service. I don't think they need to add anybody. I think they just stick to what they're doing. Have Alba and Ethan Page walk around with Chelsea. It's fantastic. The fact that Chelsea is now the Women's United States Champion again is even better, and it just makes the faction feel more legitimate as we got 3 belts around them. You know, it would be funny as hell if we could, even if Alba had the Speed title, that would be great. Just have them all have a title in it. Now, Joe Hendry and Thea Hale, I would love to see them win. I would love to see them go out there and hold some titles. But, again, Ethan Page, Chelsea Green, they ain't losing. It's not happening. It's going down. And I'm going to say they continue to be your mixed AAA tag team champions. Now, tag team champions for the NXT. We got Javon Evans and Leon Slater, the X Division champion and over in TNA. Leon and Javon have been boys. They've been teaming up, watching each other's back on NXT and TNA. They've teamed together before. Well, now this time they're taking on the Dark State Boys, and they're going after those NXT tag team titles. And, you know, for me, I think that this match should be good. But as we saw with the Hardy Boys, I think Dark State, they're not doing bad, but they still obviously have a lot of work to do. And as I said earlier, It is a third brand, yes, but again, it is also a developmental brand, and they're all just working to get better each and every week on their craft. And again, practice makes perfect. And the only way you're going to learn something is you do it over and over and over and over again. It's like missionary position, as Roman Reigns likes to say. But I'm going to be bold here. This is about my bold prediction of the night. I'm going to say Javon and Leon Slater walk out as your tag team champions. I say there's like a 30% chance, but there's still a chance. And I'll say bold because Kyle said it on the night shift on Tuesday with Jay Gold. There has to be a couple title changes. And I think that, yes, we're going to see a new speed champion and everything else like that. But I just don't know what other titles could possibly change. Besides maybe the tag titles, maybe Ricky puts the title on the line. Maybe he loses it. But then again, I don't think he would. And again, also, the last match we'll talk about here real quick is the Women's Championship. And this is another one I think could very well just hot potato it. And we could see Izzy Dane cost Tatum Paxley because Izzy Dane is definitely getting a little suspicious. She's definitely getting a little, jealous. She's not happy about Tatum just handing out title shots to everybody. And especially because they ain't going to her and she ain't getting none of that. And nobody wants to talk to her and nobody wants to give her a title shot. Izzy Dane is going to snap and it's not going to be pretty for Tatum. And that is why I think another bold prediction, two bold predictions for you. The two title changes we get are the tag titles and JC Jane winning the title right back. I don't want JC Jane to win the title, but JC Jane, I think, proved herself. She can be a champion. She can do, and she can be the top woman in NXT. And I love Tatum. I think that Tatum's a great wrestler. I think her character is fantastic. I think everything that she's done from the beginning days, from when she was just a jobber, when she was coming out with no character, and she was just trying to figure herself out. I think watching her go all the way to being a champion is great, but I think she's also just a traditional champion, a transitional champion, and I think that Miss Tatum Paxley could lose the title. So that's why my second bold prediction for NXT Gold Rush is going to be JC Jane winning her title right back. See how that goes with that. But other matches could be announced, and we'll have to see how it plays out. Obviously, just week 1 is this upcoming week. And then the following week, we got week 2. We only got 2 matches as of now for week 2. We'll see how it goes. And again, they could add one more match for week 1. But as of this moment, we got 6 matches for the next 2 weeks. And we'll see at the end of those 2 weeks who is left standing after NXT Gold Rush. But guys, that's all I got here for you. I appreciate you coming and hanging out here for 45 minutes, talking some NXT, Black and Gold, NXT 2.0, NXT Yellow and Black, NXT Silver and Black. We got like 6 different times of NXT. It's crazy. And yeah, but guys, I appreciate you as always. Tomorrow we got football, but we will not be here. So enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the NFL football. Bear down, Chicago Bears. Let's beat those Minnesota Vikings. Let's go to 7-3. Let's continue our run and get even closer to the top of that division. Guys, enjoy your Saturday night. Enjoy your Sunday of football. And I'll see you all back here. Or I won't see you here back on Monday for Monday Night Raw. We won't be here for Monday Night Raw, but we will have something on Monday here for you. So, guys, I'll see you for that. And then we'll see you next week for another live stream. And I will see you back all for our watch-alongs next Tuesday for NXT. Guys, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you then.